I have a new 1200 grit disc topper to break in. You can see how gritty that is. There's just too much there. It'll cut more like a 600 or 360, something pretty rough. So I got to break it in, and I was told to break it in with an agate. So I have this nice clear agate from the Oregon beach trip that we did, and I'm going to facet that, I guess. And unfortunately, I don't have a trim saw, so we'll have to use the next best method and give a little tap. Got a couple usable pieces out of that. I think I might go with this one. It's kind of oblong, but has some good dimensions to it, and looks like it has some good transparency. So it'll be interesting to see what this looks like faceted. After a very brief rough-in period where I made a couple of flat sides on this piece of agate, I noticed there was kind of a triangular pattern to it, and I'm going to try the US Faceter Guild 2009 single stone competition diagram for the tree stick garnet, which is available online. You can go and find the diagram. And there's pretty straightforward directions. Make the girdle at 90 degrees first, which is why this is set perpendicular to the plane of the lap here. And you're supposed to start 96, 32, 64, but because of the way that I dopped it up, my 96, if I set this at 96, which is that one there, then I'd be, pretty off-center in terms of perpendicular to the long axis of the triangle that I made, or that I have to work with. And so in order to save rough, because I don't want to get too close to the dop, if I cut it this way, perpendicular to this plane, then I would be very close to the dop. But if I rotate the stone, then I'll only have to take off a little bit from this end, and you can see I still don't have a lot to work with. So this 96, 32, 64, that relates to the three longest points on the triangle here. And so if I did 96 first, if I set my thing to 96 and then came in, that's almost perpendicular to the long axis of my triangle. And so I would not get the right shape at all. And so what I did was found, around 6 degrees on the angle index, on the index angle. That's about perpendicular or parallel to my long axis here on this triangle. That was my 16, so everything is offset by 10 degrees. And so what I did was just went through and subtracted 10 degrees from everything that I'm gonna do on the pavilion. And we'll try this and see if that works. So like 86, if I come in and set my index to 86, that is pretty close to the long axis of my triangle here. And so this will be the bottom where 96 was supposed to be. All right, we've got a roughly triangular shape. I didn't go in all the way on the sides, so there's still a couple of raw edges, but a lot of this is gonna get ground away as I cut the crown. And you can see here I'd started to grind away. That was the preforming stage up there. That'll disappear pretty quick too. And I'm set now at 54, somewhere between 54.1 and 0.2 degrees. It's supposed to be 54.19, but I can't do that accurately here with just this little protractor here. But we'll go in and have those all meet at a center point. The pavilion is now done with the 1200 lap, which was kind of the main point of making this out of agate. And yet I didn't really spend a lot of time on it because it cut so fast. And you can see it's still very aggressive with these large scratches on this facet here. Those lines that are running kind of parallel to the left and right. Those were made by the 1200 because I was going the opposite way with my 260 lap. What I ended up doing was just putting a little table on the bottom of the pavilion here because I didn't want to cut in anymore. And so it's a little nightstand. But we got our triangular shape, kind of the swooping facets circling around the top there. And there's going to be a couple natural sides, and like there's a little bit of kind of sandy stuff here. There's a couple of, like there's pretty rough surface there from the 1200. There'll be a few things that I can't polish out from just holes and things in the agate itself, especially up on this part where it's a little bit, it's got that kind of potch pattern. But I think overall it looks pretty neat. Got the agate lines in there still, and hopefully it shows some, lightens up a little bit once we, I'll switch it to the other side after I polish it up with, pre-polish with the 600 here, and then switch over and do 50,000 diamond just briefly. Try to touch it up a little bit. The first tier of crown facets are all put in, and that's 3 facets there. Gonna leave a nice thick girdle. I just have 2 more crown tier facets to put in, basically a mirror image of the backside. And then we'll put in a table and we'll be all sorted. And I finished this off with the 1200 grit running for quite a while, and compared to the pavilion tiers, we are almost scratch free. Certainly better than it was before. You can see that matte finish on there. Actually a little bit of shininess too. So I think I'll cut in the other tiers with the 1200 grit since it's a pretty shallow angle. It should go pretty fast. And then I'll come back and you'll see those in just a second here. Well, the top is polished to 1200 grit, and I don't see any big scratches, so I think the lap is finally broken in. I put these long triangular facets, I think, on the wrong side of the cut, and so the end piece is a little bit blocky where it was supposed to be all triangles. So something went a little wonky there. We'll polish this up with the 50,000 diamond powder, and then we'll take it off the dop and I'll show you the result. Here we have the final polished agate, faceted in the Triste Garnet design, more or less. I think the fortification looks pretty nice. We're semi-triangular and more or less close to square. A couple of scratches, but we weigh 9.54 carats.